thank you for the introduction. And yeah, we need to recite something. In fact, there's some recitation that I thought we'll do for this session. Uh, but I have kind of copy pasted that content into a presentation that I'm going to share with you. So hopefully we won't have to kind of share a separate document. We can recite from that. Um, Okay, so as Alice mentioned, we're going to start a new course today, how to set up a daily practice. And essentially what this course is about, it's about integrating all the uh, elements from the different subjects that we've been studying so far, in the courses that we've done so far for these Saturday sessions. So we've done a course on how to rely on a teacher. We've studied karma, death and impermanence, uh, and then we've studied how to, do a mindfulness on death meditation. Uh, and also in the past, we've kind of covered subjects like how to generate bodhicitta, cultivate the mind of enlightenment, and how to kind of follow that up with the practice of the six paramitas. Uh, and then we've also had sessions on how to cultivate meditative serenity and insight. So this course that we're starting today is going to draw from our discussions on all these various subjects that we've covered so far. And for today's session, I'm going to cover this practice called, taking refuge. Uh, so, how to go to refuge in the three jewels. So, we've been kind of discussing that for the past four sessions, but how to kind of bring it into practice. How can we kind of have design a template for our daily practice related to going to refuge to the three jewels. So that's what I intend to do today. And what we're going to do today is to study what is called Tri Ratna Sadhana. So a practice to go to refuge to three jewels. So just need to share that PPT with you. Can you enable sharing? Oh, it's already enabled. Okay.
Should be enabled already.
Yeah. Okay, so the sadhana of remembering the three jewels. Um, for the past four sessions, we've been covering different um, subjects related to this topic. In the last session, I had covered what are the definitions of the three jewels, the three ratnas. Um, I think it got a little technical in the last session, but I think once in a while it's okay. Uh, we saw what is the definition of the Buddha jewel, what is the definition of the Dharma jewel, what is the definition of the Sangha jewel. And we saw how each of those definitions speaks about eight different qualities. So for the Buddha jewel, anything that is in possession of those eight different qualities qualifies to be a Buddha jewel. For the Dharma jewel and the Sangha jewel, anything that possesses either of those eight qualities is considered to be the Dharma jewel or the Sangha jewel, respectively. So we'd seen those definitions, and we'd also started discussion on the sutra, remembering the three jewels. We just covered one part of the sutra. Uh, so, what I thought was it would be nice if we can continue our discussion on that sutra, familiarize ourselves with the different terms that are presented in the sutra to introduce the three jewels. We'll discuss that first, and then we'll see how we can integrate that practice of reciting the three sutras uh, into our daily practice. So, okay, so let me pull out that sutra first, or rather, I have a document where I've made some notes about the three jewels. 1 second, I need to stop this. Okay, can you see the document?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so last time, in the last section, we started the discussion on the sutra, remembering the three jewels, and we'd covered just one part of the sutra, which discusses the different epithets that can describe the Buddha Ratna or the Buddha jewel. Can you remember some of the epithets that that were covered, or do you remember it from your recitation of the sutra in the past? Anyone? Any of the, so there are 9 to 10 different epithets that are described in the sutra to describe the Buddha Ratna. So anyone remembers any of these?
If we can
So
use our notes
the
from
one,
before.
the first one is mentioned here. It's visible here. It's called Buddha, and what Buddha implies, that's kind of described here. So Buddha actually implies somebody who, one second. Somebody who has eradicated all obscurations, both the cognitive and the afflictive obscuration, and is also endowed with uh, two different kinds of wisdoms: the wisdom of seeing the nature of things as it is, and the wisdom of perceiving all that exists, or having wisdom of all the phenomenal reality, uh, ultimate reality, and the conventional or the phenomenal reality. So that was the first epithet. So does anyone recollect any other epithet?
We have Bhagavan Tathagata Ahat.
Yes, yeah. So Bhagavan, Tathagat, Arhat, then there's Samyak Sambuddha. So there are 9 or 10 different epithets, and we just briefly covered each of those epithets. So let's just revise those epithets again. So the first one was Buddha, and I've just described what it means. Um, Second one is Bhagavan. So Bhagavan, when translated into English, it says the transcendent, accomplished conqueror. So somebody who has transcended the state of suffering, uh, and also has transcended the duality of nirvana and samsara. So transcendent, accomplished, uh, somebody who is in possession of the transcendent awareness, the wisdom of ultimate reality and the conventional reality, and somebody who's conquered the maras of affliction, the aggregates, the mara of death, and the mara of desire. So Bhagwan is a reference to a person who has all these 3 different qualities: transcendent, accomplished, and somebody who's conquered the maras. So that was the second epithet. Then there's the third epithet, which is Tathagat. So Teshin Shekpa, or Tathagat, implies somebody who has attained suchness, or who has attained the wisdom that realizes the ultimate reality of phenomena. So Tathagat uh, is the third epithet. Then there's the fourth epithet, which is Arhant. So Arhant is in reference to a person who has destroyed all the foes or all the enemies. So Ari means foes or enemies, and ant is to put an end to or destroy or eliminate. So, what are the foes or the enemies that are being referred to here? It's the afflictions in our mind streams, along with the seeds. The fifth epithet that we discussed was Samyak Sambuddha, or a person who is perfectly and completely enlightened. So, a person who has attained the state has perfected all the realizations. Uh, in relation to other teachers, there are other people who may have similar kind of realizations. For example, a Shravaka Arhant or a Pratyabuddha Arhant is similar to a completely enlightened Buddha in terms of the wisdom of emptiness that they realize. They're all kind of identical in that respect. But what the Samyak Sambuddha has is goes beyond this realization. He's also perfected other kinds of realizations, which, for example, gives him the ability to have a simultaneous perception of both ultimate reality and conventional reality at the same time. So those are abilities which are not available to other teachers like the Shravaka Arhants and the Pratyabuddha Arhants. A Mahayana Arhant, which is the same as saying a Samyak Sambuddha or a completely enlightened Buddha, is far superior to a Shravaka Arhant or a Pratyabuddha Arhant because he has perfected all the realizations. So that's the fifth epithet, Samyak Sambuddha. Then the sixth epithet that we had seen was Vidya Charana Sampanna, or translated into English, it says endowed with insight and worthy of reverence. This term Vidyacharan Sampanna, I find it kind of translated quite in different ways in the text. Some of you who are familiar with Indian languages would know that Charan actually means feet, right? So there are two parts to this word. It's a compounded word, Vidya. Then it says Charan and Sampan. So somebody who's endowed with Vidya, somebody who's endowed with knowledge. And then the other part is kind of seen as Sampanna in Charan. So in some translations, you find that it's translated as somebody who's endowed with insight and feet. That actually probably is not a right translation, in my opinion. Actually, the word here is a combination of two qualities. Somebody who is endowed with Vidya Sampanna, and Acharana Sampanna. Acharan actually means conduct. So a person who is endowed with insight, with Vidya, and is worthy of reverence because his conduct is also completely pure, completely endowed, absolutely endowed with perfection. So the conduct is free from afflictions, and it is inspired by the mind of enlightenment. It is inspired by great compassion, and that's the reason that person is worthy of reverence. So Vidya Acharan Sampanna. So this is the sixth epithet. Then the seventh epithet is Sugat, or somebody who's reached the state of bliss. So Gat is to go, and Su implies the state of bliss. So somebody has gone to the state of bliss. And that's how it is translated in Tibetan also. So someone who's reached the state of bliss. And what is the kind of bliss that you're talking about here? So the Buddha has accomplished all the different kinds of samadhis. He's perfected all the wisdom states. So there's a lot of bliss that he or the Buddha abides in. So he abides in the bliss of quiescence of all the dissipative latencies because he's conquered all the cognitive obscurations also. And he abides in the state of all knowing wisdom. So the bliss of all knowing wisdom. So because of these qualities, a person who's reached this state is called a Sugat, or someone who's reached the state of bliss. Then the eighth epithet is the epithet called Lok with Anuttara. So Lok is referring to the world, uh, and with is to know. So the supreme knower of the entire world. And then there's the suffix Anuttar, which is kind of added to this word. Anuttara means somebody who is incomparable or unsurpassable. So, Lok with Anuttara, the supreme knower of the entire world. And he's like none else in this capacity, much better than all his disciples. So, he knows all his disciples. He knows what instructions are appropriate for each of his disciples because he knows their predispositions. And apart from that, he also knows all other kinds of worldly phenomena. So, Lok with Anuttara. That's the eighth epithet. Then the ninth epithet to describe a Buddha or a Buddha Ratna is Purusha Damya Sarathi. So, Sarathi, all of you know, is referring to somebody who guides or chariots, leads. So, Sarathi is a charioteer or a guide. So the Buddha Ratna is a guide to all beings, Purush, all beings that need to subdue their minds. So Purusha Damya, Daman is to subdue. So anybody who is in need of subduing their minds, and all of us are, uh, he is a he is the most supreme charioteer or the guide to such beings because he's aware of all our predispositions, our spiritual maturities, and based on our predispositions and abilities, then he can show us an appropriate path that leads us onto the path of liberation. So that's the reason he's called Purusha Dhamma Sarathi. Then there's this word Anuttara, which is kind of separately translated in the English translation and also in the Tibetan translation. Whereas in the Sanskrit version that I have access to, Anuttara is kind of combined with the eighth epithet, Lok with Anuttara. Whereas in the English translation, which is based on the Tibetan version, uh, the eighth epithet is translated only as Lok with, meaning knower of the world. And Anuttara is separately translated later on. So, anyways, Anuttara means the unsurpassable one. Why? Because no one can match a Buddha in the ability to guide disciples. And again, we had kind of briefly seen this in the previous session also. He's unsurpassable in his ability to, uh, you know, uh, be creative in the path that he can prescribe for a specific disciple based on his or her disposition and spiritual maturity. For example, his cousin Nanda, he was ordained as a bhikshu, but he had a major problem uh, staying in the monastery because he had this very strong attachment um, to his family and his wife. And then the Buddha actually used, very cleverly kind of guided him and helped him navigate his torment, which was a result of his attachment for all those things. And then he became an arhat later on. You also are familiar with the story of Angulimala. And then there was this elderly monk called Shudra Panthaka. He got ordained at a very late age, and he wasn't intelligent, so he couldn't comprehend most of the Buddha's teachings. But the Buddha got him ordained first of all, and then gave him some very simple instructions like sweeping the premises of the monastery, and then chanting some things while he's sweeping. And through these kind of very simple instructions, he managed to lead Shudra Panthaka on the path to liberation, and ultimately even he became a Arhant. Sthavir Kashyapa is another monk in the order who was very proud about his clairvoyant abilities and his magical powers. And the Buddha then used his powers of samadhis and clairvoyance and magical abilities to kind of demonstrate to him that his powers are really not that significant and he shouldn't be proud about it. So he used different means to train and instruct and lead his disciples. So that's the reason he's considered to be unsurpassable to others. Uh, Then there's the 10th epithet, which says Shasta Deva Manushanam, and we've seen this in the previous session. What this means is he is the teacher to gods and humans. Why are gods and humans kind of singled out here? Is because, um, strictly speaking, it's only the gods and humans who can practice the path of liberation that he preached. We do not have any category of four destroyers from the lower realms. You have only either human four destroyers or four destroyers in the realm of gods. So apart from that, you can't think of animal four destroyer, for example. So, because they are the principal disciples of the Buddha, the gods and humans, that's the reason this epithet is kind of associated with him. Shasta is the teacher. Deva Manushanam. Deva is humans, gods, and Manushanam. Manusha is humans. And then the sutra says Buddho Bhagwan iti. So such is the Buddha Bhagwan. So this is the first part of the sutra. Then it goes on to describe a lot of other epithets. So we'll quickly kind of go over the epithets. Uh, anyway, so the first practice, when we speak about our daily practice, as I said, is going to refuge to the three jewels. And unless you have a good comprehension about the qualities of the three jewels, then that practice won't be that effective. So let's just spend some more time. So we'll cover these epithets, and then we'll take a short break, and then in the post-break session we'll uh, you know start the discussion on how to integrate this into a daily practice. Okay, then okay, the next part of the sutra, it says, "He who is thus gone embodies the merit which is his cause." If you have access to the sutra on your computer or your iPad or your phone, it would be nice. You can refer to the sutra directly. I can't share multiple documents now, I think. Uh, but anyways, I've given the translation at the top. So it says, he who is thus gone exemplifies the merit which is his cause. So what follows from this part on is a description of his enlightened activities. So he attained the state of Buddhahood for a specific purpose, to lead other sentient beings on the path of liberation. So what follows now is a description of all those enlightened activities related to his effort to, lead people on the path to liberation. Okay, yeah. Let's just share the sutra. Okay, you can have a look at the sutra. Okay. So the Sanskrit says, Nishandasa Tathagata Punya Nam. Punya is merit. So all the enlightened activities of a person who's reached that state, the resultant state of omniscience, are the results of the meritorious or the virtuous actions that that person engaged in on the path towards Buddhahood while he or she was a bodhisattva. So the enlightened activities of the resultant Buddha are the results that correspond to the causes of the multiple virtues that he or she engaged in. So the Buddha, when he was still a bodhisattva on the path, um, he did not direct the merit from his enlightened activities, his virtuous activities, to lesser goals, to the purpose of, let's say, attaining a higher rebirth as a human or a god, or even to liberation. So he didn't direct his merit for these kind of goals. Instead, he made an aspiration that whatever virtuous actions he engaged in should be for the benefit of all the sentient beings, and should benefit all the sentient beings till samsara is entirely emptied of all sentient beings. So even in the result, there was this aspiration that that action or that result somehow become a cause uh, for the realization of this aspiration, which is to benefit all the sentient beings in the world till samsara is emptied. So thus, even in the resultant state, the resultant state uh, is an effect of the concordant um, causes, ripening causes. It says result here. Um so the the resultant state of Buddhahood was the effect of concordant causes on the path when he was a bodhisattva. So the Buddha, he keeps accumulating merit by these virtuous actions, um, whether it is maintaining ethical discipline or engaging in the practice of generosity on the path when he was a bodhisattva. Uh, and he dedicates it to have the ability to continue performing similar virtuous actions even in the future for the sake of all sentient beings. So the concordant effect would be that the result would then still become a cause for him to continue working for the welfare of sentient beings. So that's the reason this section we said describes the unceasing enlightened activities of the Buddha. The second quality that is being described here, the first and the second, essentially talk about these unceasing enlightened activities, which are the result of his of the merit that is accumulated when he was a bodhisattva on the path. So the second quality that is used here, it says, in him, no root of virtue is ever worn away. Precisely for the reason that I've been describing so far. He didn't dedicate the merit to any lesser goal. He directed all the merit from his virtuous, wholesome actions to be able to continue to work for the welfare of sentient beings. So the Buddha's enlightened activities will endure in this universe. The ripened result itself becomes a cause to continue working for the welfare of other sentient beings. So this is the second quality that is described here. Avi pranasha kushala mula nam. Okay. Then, okay, so the next part of the sutra talks about, it describes, there are 6 kind of expressions which show how the Buddha benefits sentient beings by manifesting the different kinds of kayas or the different kinds of bodies. Yeah, so we'll just go through these qualities. So the first quality, through his manifold patience, he is exceedingly beautiful. So you know that the Buddha attained the state of Buddhahood so that he can deliver on this purpose to serve, keep serving the all the sentient beings. And the physical exterior form of his being becomes an important medium through which he can engage with other sentient beings and help them on the path to liberation. Now, if that is not beautiful, then his ability to work for the welfare of other sentient beings would be compromised. And what is the cause for and beautiful exterior, a beautiful disposition? It is practicing or cultivating patience. So this part of the sutra talks about it. So he's adorned with patience. which becomes the cause for his beautified body. And because patience is the root cause for pleasant appearance. So the Sanskrit version says Alankrit Shanta. Alankrit is ornamented. Shantai is patient. Shanti is patient. Yeah. Uh, then the second quality that is described here is he is the foundation of the treasures of merit. So the treasure here kind of refers to a storehouse which is not exhaustible, and foundation refers to the source from which this refers to a storehouse of merit. Uh, so the foundation refers to the source from which arise many other merits. So the Buddha's being is the basis for more future merits to arise. The beautiful body that he possesses is the basis for future enlightened activities. So the phrase here shows the individual aspects of the Buddha's beautiful body. They are the result of the accumulation of different kinds of meritorious actions that he engaged in. Yeah? And then they become the cause uh, for supporting his future enlightened activities. So alaya is the foundation. Punya nidhana nam. Punya is merit. Nidhana nam is a treasure. So he's the foundation of the treasures of merit. And then the third quality that is described here, the third, fourth, and I think third and the fourth qualities described here are a description of his form body or the Rupakai. As you're all aware of by now, the state of Buddhahood is described by four bodies, or essentially four bodies which can be categorized into two. On the one hand, you have Rupakaya, which is the medium for him to work for others' welfare. And then there is what is called the truth body or the Dharmakaya, which is for the fulfillment of his own purpose, his own goal. That has two aspects, which is the Jnanakaya, which is the omniscient mind of the Buddha, and the Swabhavikaya, or the nature truth body, which is you can say, the emptiness of the omniscient mind of a Buddha. On the Rupakaya side, you have the Sambhogakaya, which is accessed by the Bodhisattvas. And then there's the Nirmankaya, which is, a medium for us, people like us, to access the Buddha's doctrine through. So the Rupakaya is described here. So the Rupakaya is ornamented with the excellent minor marks. So by now everybody is familiar about the minor marks and the 32 major marks, signs. So the minor marks he's ornamented with, and he's the full blossoming of the major marks. So the state of Buddhahood or the Buddha Ratna is the full blossoming of the 32 major marks. So kusumito lakshaneya. Lakshan is the major mark, and anuvanjaneya, chitrito anuvanjaneya. Anuvanjan is the minor mark. So he's ornamented with the minor marks, and he represents the full blossoming of that state represents the full blossoming of the 32 major marks, which include the Urna and the Ushnish and other such marks. And we'd seen how much merit needs to go into actualizing each of those marks. Then the next three qualities that are described here, they talk about the enlightened physical activities of the Buddha. So he's got this wonderful form, physical form. So what kind of activities does he accomplish through this physical form? So his activity is timely and fitting, or his conduct corresponds to the levels of enlightened activities, indicates that the Buddha possesses excellent conduct. So the Buddha behaves in ways that correspond to the spiritual level of those that encounter him. So, the form that he takes on, he has the ability to manifest in different forms, is a reflection of the spiritual level and the spiritual disposition of the disciple he's trying to train. So that mirroring, uh, that ability to mirror or what is appropriate for the disciple um, in his conduct, that is being described here. So pratiropo gocharena. And then there's nothing inharmonious that mars the sight of his physical person. So apratikulo darshanena. And then he brings true joy to those who are inclined towards the dharma with faith. So those who have faith in the ability of the dharma to clear away their suffering, he brings true joy to them by showing them the right path. So abhirati is to give true joy. Shraddhadi mukta nam. So those who are inclined towards, adimukta is to be inclined towards or to have a propensity towards something. And what is the propensity that is being described here? Shraddha or faith. So those who have a propensity towards faith in the dharma, and he brings true joy to them. So people who engage in meditation, for example, when they've attained higher levels of meditative stabilization, they enjoy a lot of physical bliss and mental joy. So, similarly, when people out of faith, out of devotion, they come to see the Buddha, they also experience a lot of physical and mental delight and happiness. So, that's what is being described here. So, these are the enlightened physical activities of the Buddha. So, now those people who go to see the Buddha, uh, or want to engage with the Buddha, those could be kind of categorized into two uh, groups. There's the first group who go to see the Buddha with the intention of challenging his abilities, to compete with him. And there were a host of these kind of people who were not very clear about his instructions or his teachings, and thought that their interpretation of what reality is better than his description, and they would go and challenge him, go in his presence and challenge him. There are a lot of these episodes described in the sutras, a lot of interactions with people from other faiths. For example, there's this group of disciples or ascetics called the Nighanta. So Nighanta probably is a description, or rather a corruption of the word Nirgrantha. Nirgrantha was the epithet of the teacher of um, the disciples of Jainism. So they had there are a lot of episodes described in the sutras where the Buddha has debated with disciples of Mahavir, and of course there are other disciples also, or other mm, people also that he had debates with. So because of the wisdom that he was in possession with, because of the brilliance of his wisdom, no matter in what way he was challenged, and he would remain unconfounded. So that's what is being described here. So through the brilliance of his wisdom, he's unconfounded. Anabhibhuta pradneya. Then against his power, there is no victory. So this is actually a reference to his physical ability also. Apparently, he had great physical powers also. So that's what is being described here. Anava mardaniya baleya. Against his power, there is no victory. So nobody could challenge him either in wisdom uh, or physical power. Okay, so I don't know. I haven't really heard or read too much about this, about his physical prowess. But yeah, that's what is being indicated here, I guess. Okay, so the second group of people who came to see him were those with faith. The first one was the group which wanted to challenge him and compete with him. So here, for those with faith, uh, he he would act as the teacher, He would, guide them. He would nurture them, uh, and he would kind of instruct them according to their spiritual disposition. So he had all those various qualities. So those qualities are being described here. So for those with faith, he is the teacher. So it says here, he is the teacher of all sentient beings. Shasta Sarva Sattva Nam. Then it also says he is the father of all bodhisattvas. So Pita Bodhisattva Nam. And he is the sovereign of all the noble ones. Uh, so the noble ones here being referred to are the Shravaka Aryas and the Pratyek Buddha Aryas. So those on the hearer path and those on the solitary realizer path and those who have actually attained the Arya state or the path of seeing. So he is the father of all bodhisattvas because he preached the bodhisattva vehicle as the supreme vehicle, and his qualities are the result of practicing the bodhisattva path. So all the bodhisattvas, the bodhisattva trainees on the bodhisattva path, uh, were in a position to inherit his qualities. So in that sense, he is the father of all the bodhisattvas. Whereas the Shravaka Aryas and the Pratyek Buddha Aryas, they followed his lesser vehicle teachings and aimed for lesser realizations. But they were very kind of obedient and followed his instructions in spirit and in letter. So in that sense, they were like the subjects of a king. So that's the reason he is said to be the king or the sovereign of all the noble ones, the Shravaka noble ones and the Pratyek Buddha noble ones. Raja Arya Pudgala Nam. And he is the guide who leads beings to the city of Nirvana. So, so far we've seen Shravaka Aryas and the Pratyek Buddha Aryas, how they're, guided by the Buddha. Then the Bodhisattvas, how they are guided. There are those trainees who are not on the path yet, who haven't entered the path. For them, he initiates them and shows them, leads them from the state where they are to the ultimate state of nirvana. So he is the guide who leads beings to the city of nirvana. Sartava, nirvana samprasthitanam. So Sartava is the guide. Nirvana Nagar is the city of nirvana. Samprasthitanam. So he guides them to a state where they can abide in this city of nirvana. So these are the qualities that are being described here. For those with faith, he is the teacher to all sentient beings. He is the father of all bodhisattvas. He is the sovereign of all noble ones, and he is the guide who leads beings to the city of nirvana. For those who have not entered the path. So just a question here. So it says, Shasta Sarva Sattva Nam. So that's he is the teacher of all sentient beings. So let me counter this. Let me say that he is not actually the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the teacher of only the gods and the humans. How would you counter that? I mean, it's kind of contradictory, right? These two statements. It's in one part it says he's a teacher of all sentient beings, whereas when we looked at the first list of epithets, he's described as the teacher of the gods and humans. Shasta Deva Manushanam. Yeah, yeah, listen.
Perhaps because of his enlightened qualities, he's able to benefit even the beings in the other realms of existence who are not human and not devas. Therefore, they do not actively receive teachings consciously, but are still benefited by him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, so he's a teacher, and he would be teaching them different things, right? He's a teacher to all sentient beings. Uh, the beings in the human and the deva realm can comprehend his teachings on the path of liberation. he may not, eh, that may not be the teaching that he would give to sentient beings in the hell realm, for example. He may just give them teaching on how to relieve their suffering temporarily, or some lesser kind of lesser form of teaching. So he's a very skillful teacher, as Alice just mentioned. He has the ability to teach uh, all kinds of beings, whatever realm they exist in. What is being described in the first set of epithets is with respect to his teachings pertaining to the specific path of actualizing the state of cessation, the truth of cessation, and the true paths, which make up the path of liberation. Those teachings may not be appropriate for teaching for sentient beings in the lower realms, but nevertheless, he teaches them other things which lead them towards the path of liberation. So, yeah, for those with faith, these are the four different qualities. And then the sutra talks about his enlightened or altruistic activities for the benefit of other sentient beings, and the different kinds of skillful means that he deploys to perform these enlightened activities. So, what are the skillful means that he deploys? There are six different qualities that are described here. So, the first one says he has measureless wisdom. So, he has transcendental wisdom, and he knows all that is knowable. So, a Buddha, a person, when he or she actualizes that state of omniscience, has limitless access to all noble phenomena. So, aprameya jnanena. And then he possesses inconceivable fearlessness, assurance, self composure that is never exhausted. Um, so I think what is being referred to here is his ability to uh, give the most meaningful instructions, verbal instructions, through teachings to his disciples. So, what is being referred to here is probably inconceivable eloquence. And through his teachings, he can then influence uh, his disciples and lead them onto the path of liberation. So, Pratibha is kind of an influence. Achintya is inconceivable. So, he has inconceivable influence through his ability to articulate teachings in the most meaningful way uh, to any disciple. So, Achintya Pratibhanena. He possesses inconceivable eloquence. Then his speech is utterly pure. So the Buddha's voice does not have any kind of flaws of being imprecise or faltering. So his speech is free of all defects and possesses all the qualities. So Vishuddha Swarena, that is the quality that is being described here. The next one says his tones are melodious, well tuned, and sweet to hear. So he also possesses this ability where his speech is not just pure or devoid of any kind of flaws, but it's also pleasant to hear. So aswadiniya goshena, one can never have enough of looking at him. So very, very pleasant disposition. One is kind of can't take one's eyes away from his physical being. So asechana porupena, and his form is without comparison. So these six qualities are talking about his physical form uh, and the qualities of his speech, through which he then gives shape to his enlightened activities to benefit other sentient beings. So, apratisamakayena, aprameyo jnanena, achintya pratibhanena, vishuddha swarena, aswadaniyo ghoshena, asechana porupena, apratisamakayena. So, these are the six qualities that are being described here. And he gives shape to his enlightened activities in three different realms of existence to accomplish the benefit of sentient beings. But he remains kind of unsullied or untouched by the impurities of each of those realms. So he's unsullied by the realm of desire, alipta kameya. Lipta is to be wrapped up in something. So he's not wrapped in the afflictions that describe the Kamalok, Alipta Kameya. So he's unsullied by the ram of desire. Similarly, he is unsullied by the realm of form, Anulipto Rupeya. So Rupalok also is not wrapped up in the afflictions that describe the impurities or the defilements that describe the realm of form, the form realm. And he's not caught up in the formless realm. So there's no mention of him having taken a rebirth in the formless realm. So, anyways, but he teaches them also. Yeah, again, let's go back to that uh, point of debate that I raised. Maybe something that you need to reflect on. It says Sarva Sattva Nam, right? Shasta Sarva Sattva Nam. Again, let me challenge that. So he's not a teacher to all sentient beings. Yeah. Why? Because he does not teach uh, the beings in the formless realm. Yeah. Would you agree with that? Or would you want to challenge that? Does he teach the beings in the formless realm? Anyone? In the Arupalok, does he teach the beings of the formless realm?
Doesn't have, I mean, the qualities of Buddha. Buddha himself says that he is without form also, right? I mean, so which means that it shouldn't affect Buddha's teaching
Mhm.
as such, whether it is to form or formless, any kind of
But how would
saying,
he
but I
teach?
don't know.
How would he teach a person in the formless realm? His um, tool for
Because Buddha
teaching.
himself can be equated as formless, right? I don't know. That is one of his qualities, right?
Now, let's say he's formless, and somebody who is in samadhi that belongs to one of the four formless realms, he's meditating. He's kind of in that absorption, in that state of samadhi. Um, if he wants to teach, he has to use words, right? He has to use sound. And in the formless realm, there's no sound.
When you are in meditative
There can't be
equipoise, I
any.
think sound doesn't matter,
So how would he instruct those beings then?
right?
Yeah. Okay, it's something that you can think about. Yeah, later.
Yeah,
I'll ask you about it later. Yeah.
Thoughts
maybe we can. Homework.
Homework. Yeah. 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 Archana, you have
influenced
something.
by thoughts or something.
Bye.
Thoughts.
Thoughts. Okay.
Yeah. And
Some people
maybe he helps them to come out of that
samadhi.
formlessness.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe possible, but just think about it. Yeah. Let's. If there's something in the text which describes his ability to help sentient beings in the formless realm, just think about that and make a note of it. We can discuss it later. Yeah. Okay. Buddha accomplishes the benefits of sentient beings without becoming attached to any part of this phenomenal world. So whether it is the form realms or the formless realm or the desire realm, he's kind of free of the afflictions that describe the defilements that describe that particular part of samsara. So he's completely liberated from suffering. That's the next quality that is described. He's totally liberated from the aggregates. So whether it's the mental aggregates or the physical aggregates, the defiled mental or the physical aggregates, uh, if you're born in any of these three forms, even in the formless realm, although your being is more refined, you're still kind of described by defiled aggregates. In the case of the formless realm being, it would be the defiled mental aggregates. So he's totally liberated from such defilements. Vi pramukta skandebhya. And then we samprayukta dhatu bhya. So he's not possessed with the constituents of ordinary experience. Again, the ordinary experience where we talk about these five sensory objects and the sensory perceptions associated with those, and the sensory organs associated with those. These are all defiled and contaminated for an ordinary being. So he's not he's not kind of under the influence of those contaminations. So that's what's being described in these next two qualities. Yes, he's not possessed with the constituents of ordinary experience, and he's in control of the sense fields. So what does it mean here? The description in Sanskrit is it's quite good actually. It says samvrit ayataneya. Samvrit is to conceal or to hide or to cover. Ayataneya is your sense. Ayatan is your sense organs or your sense fields. So your eye sense organ, your ear sense organ. Doesn't mean that there's a plastic coating on his sensory organs which make them ineffective. It's because he's covered those sense fields with wisdom, the wisdom of selflessness, the wisdom of emptiness, the wisdom of impermanence. And that's the reason, through those sense fields, he does not kind of, those sense fields do not become the cause of him either generating any kind of attachment, craving, or aversion towards any kind of external object or even a mental object. So that is what is being described here, Samvrit Ayataneya. Then the next part talks about his powers of, or rather his ability resulting from relinquishment of the fetters, afflictions, afflicting emotions. So this part talks about the perfection of relinquishment, and then the next part talks about the perfection of realization. So realizations and relinquishment, abandonment. So the first one, he has cut right through the knots or the entanglements. So what entanglements are being spoken of here is free of all the afflictions, right? So it says prachinna grantheya. So chinna is to dissipate or to destroy. Grantha is actually a knot. So prachinno grantheya. So he's cut through the entanglements created by afflictions. I think it's a little dark here. Let me just turn on the light. Okay. Prachinna grantheya. Then you have vimukta paridhagneya. So he's completely liberated from torment resulting from the presence of afflictions and their latencies in your mind stream. So he's completely free from those. And he's completely free from craving. So parimukta trishnaya. So trishna is craving. So he's completely, absolutely free from any form of craving, and specifically the craving for, samsaric existence that is very dominant in our mind stream. He's completely free from those kind of fetters. Then he has crossed over the river. So Oghat Duttirna. So he's passed over. He's excelled, gone beyond the river. What is the river that is being referred to here? Is the river of afflictive emotions, which then, if you're trapped in those afflictive emotions, in the torrent of the afflictive emotions, then you're carried away into the great ocean of samsaric suffering. So because he's cleared the torrent of afflictions, he's cleared away, he's not in the grasp of this torrent of afflictive emotions. And that's the reason he is kind of described as having crossed over the river. So,
Venerable,
yeah.
so if I get it right, a mind of the Buddha does have anger, fear, these arise. But the only thing when we're saying he's conquered it, that is, he doesn't react it with aversion and attachment. But these emotions arise like a normal. Is that what you're saying?
No. Buddha,
They don't arise at all.
he's destroyed. There's no scope of arising because even the seeds of all these afflictions have been destroyed.
But
So
they are normal
there's no
human
manifest.
emotions. So
No, they're
I was
normal to
wondering.
humans. Humans who are not trained.
Okay.
Even for
Yeah.
humans, it's I mean, there are a lot of humans who've kind of reached a state where they're free of these kind of emotions, anger and jealousy and pride, craving. desire. They've freed themselves of all these afflictions. In fact, freedom from these afflictions is a very, compared to the Buddha's state of omniscience, it's a lower level realization. So all these afflictions are cleared away at a much early state of your development on the Bodhisattva path. So he's not only arrested all his manifest afflictions, afflictive states, but he's also destroyed all the seeds. And then he's gone on to destroy or abandon and eliminate what is called the cognitive obscurations also, not just the afflictive obscurations. So anger and all is not present in the state, in the mental continuum of a Buddha. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so as I said, the first list referred to his realizations of relinquishment. Yeah, he's abandoned the afflictive, he's freed himself from the grasp of the torrent of afflictions and all that. Now comes the list of qualities which talk about his realizations. So what has he realized? He's realized the perfect state of perfect wisdom, complete wisdom. So he's perfect in all the wisdoms, paripurno jnanena. And he abides in the wisdom of all the Buddhas of past, present, and future. So he has access to this beautiful, all-encompassing transcendental wisdom, which is common to all the Buddhas of the past, of the present, and even those beings who will become Buddhas in the future. So, pratishtito atita anagata pratyutpanna nama buddha nama bhagavatam jnane. So he abides, pratishtit. Atita is the past, anagata, those who have not yet come, and pratyutpanna refers to those who are in the present. So Buddhas, all the Buddha Bhagavans, and the transcendental wisdom that they have access to. So a Buddha Ratna would share that transcendental wisdom with all of them. It's identical to the wisdom in the mental continuum of all the Buddhas of the past, present, and the future. And he does not abide in the nirvana of the lesser vehicle. Okay, this is an important quality, which kind of describes how the Mahayana path is different from the lesser vehicle. So in nirvana, where all the suffering is transcended, he does not abide. So he abides, or rather he has actualized the nirvana, which is called non-abiding nirvana, because he has to work for the welfare of all sentient beings. So apratishtito nirvane. So apratishtit is not abiding in nirvana. So the Buddha does not abide in the nirvana of the lesser vehicle trainees, the Shravakas or the Pratyek Buddhas. He abides in the nirvana, or rather you can say that he actualizes the nirvana of the bodhisattvas. But the nirvana of the bodhisattvas is not described by the trainee when he actualizes that state, abiding in a state of absorption, where he experiences a lot of bliss. He is not in that state. He or she is working for the welfare of other sentient beings. And then it says, Sthito Bhuta Kotayam, or his abode is in the very summit of perfection. So he's perfected all the perfections, the 6 perfections, and he abides in that state of supreme perfection. And he resides in that place where he perceives all beings, all living beings. So Sthito Bhuta Kotayam and Sthit Sarva Sattva Lokaniyayam Bhumo. So what does it mean when you say that he resides in that place where he perceives all living beings? So he's actualized this state of the 4 bodies, the 4 kayas of the Buddha, the omniscient state. So he's actualized the Dharma kaya. So within the Dharma kaya, there's the Swabhavik kaya and the Jnana kaya. And then there's the Rupa kaya, which has the Sabhok kaya and the Nirmana kaya. So through these, through the Dharma kaya, the Buddha looks over all the sentient beings. Through the Sambhog kaya, he benefits the great bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas who have attained a slightly higher level of realization. And through the Nirman kaya, Shakyamuni Buddha was a Nirman kaya. He performs beneficial actions for the sake of living beings in all in the different realms of existence. So in this way, the Rupakaya, which has two components, the Sambhogkaya and the Nirmankaya, and the Dharmakaya, through these kayas, the Buddha is able to benefit all the sentient beings. And in that sense, he's kind of looking over, he's residing in a place where he can look over all the living beings. So, Sthit Sarva Sattva Loka Niyayam Bhumo. And so Sarva Ime Tathagata Nam Visheshta Samyak Gunaha. So all these are the authentic and supreme qualities of the embodiment of the Buddha. So this is the part of the sutra which talks about remembering the qualities of the Buddha Ratna, Buddhanusmriti. What follows is a description of the qualities of his Dharma, the Buddha's Dharma, and the Sangha, so the Bodhisattva Sangha. So we'll look at those qualities. We'll take a break now. We'll take a 5-minute break. And then when we reassemble, we'll just quickly go over these two parts of the sutra. And then we'll start our discussion on the how to set up a daily practice involving remembering the 3 jewels of refuge. Okay, Alice, is it okay if we take a 5-minute break?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So we reassemble in 5 minutes. Yeah, you can have your tea or coffee or glass of water. Yeah. Okay. See you in 5 minutes then. Okay, let's restart. Yeah. So the next part of the text is about remembering the qualities of the Dharma Ratna, Dharmanusmriti. So it says the sacred doctrine is virtuous, faultless, and undeceiving in the outset, in the middle, and in the end. So the sacred path, the path that the Buddha taught, was the path to freedom. And how does one cultivate the path to freedom? Is by investing in these practices of ethical discipline, shila, then samadhi, which is the practice of meditative concentration, and then the practice of cultivating wisdom. So shila, samadhi, and prajna. So the path describes how to cultivate ethical discipline. The path describes how to cultivate concentration. And the path describes how to cultivate insights. And that's the reason it's said that it is faultless and undeceiving. It is virtuous in the outset, where you cultivate the foundation of the path, which is ethical discipline. In the middle, where you cultivate the practice of concentration to support the cultivation of insights, and in the end. So sadharmastu adau kalyana madhye kalyana paryavasane kalyan. So these are the 3 qualities of the path, the dharma. It's swartha, as in it is, it possesses meaning. Its meaning is excellent because it unmistakably explains all subjects in accordance with the true nature of phenomena. So on the path to liberation, you need to understand the true nature of reality, and whatever the nature of phenomena may be, physical or mental, a very gross form, or even the subtlest objects like the omniscient mind. All these are explained in terms of the true nature of phenomena. In that sense, its meaning is considered to be excellent. And not just the meaning, even the actual medium to convey that meaning, which is in the form of words and in the form of syllables, even those are endowed with meaning. So swarth, suvyanjana. So another way to kind of describe this quality is that the Buddha's path, when he described it, he kind of kept it free from poetic expressions, using, although, he uses similes and metaphors extensively, but not to the extent that it becomes difficult for us to comprehend the meaning of those examples. So the teachings are expressed in common colloquial language and easy to understand. That's one way somebody kind of commented on this quality. I'm not sure, because the Buddha does use a lot of similes and metaphors. So anyways, but what it's implying here is that even in terms of the words, the terms, the syllables, there's no conflict, and it is kind of endowed with a lot of meaning. So this is these two qualities. The first three qualities of the Dharma Ratna talks about the Dharma of the scriptures, so to say, the Dharma in the form of scriptures. So when you talk about the Dharma jewel, we usually talk about two kinds of Dharma Ratnas. There's the Dharma of scriptures and the Dharma of the realizations, which is the actual Dharma Ratna. The Dharma of realizations in the mental continua of the practitioners, and specifically in the mental continuum of the practitioners who actualize the third path, the path of seeing. So the Arya practitioners. So the next qualities kind of talk about the Dharma of realizations. So first one, it says it is integral and unalloyed, Kevala, which means that it is not mixed with or corrupted with teachings from other traditions. So one unique aspect of the Buddha's teachings is that essentially talks about anatmavad, or emptiness, or shunyata, selflessness. And that is absolutely unique to the Buddha Dharma. So all his teachings are essentially kind of talking about this ultimate level of reality. And the fact that if you're not, you do not have that wisdom of the empty nature of phenomena, then you are kind of misperceiving, misknowing phenomena, and hence your engagement with that phenomena will not be optimal, and it will become the cause of suffering for you. So his teachings are integral and unalloyed, not mixed with other teachings from other traditions. And it is totally complete. It provides all the remedies to eradicate all forms of obscurations, such as those of the afflictive emotions and like. So paripurna, so it is complete. The Buddha Dharma, the Dharma Ratna is complete, totally complete. It is utterly pure, parishuddha, because it is not affected by the afflictive emotions. It talks essentially about the antidotes to remove the afflictive emotions. So, it is kind of free from those afflictive emotions. So in that sense, it is utterly pure, and it thoroughly purifies, because it plays the role of an antidote that eradicates all afflictive emotions. So it is parishuddha and paryavadata. The Buddha teaches the Dharma perfectly. So the Dharma Ratna is pure, and it thoroughly purifies, and it is totally complete. And the Buddha also teaches the Dharma. Even the way in which the Dharma is taught is perfect. So the Buddha, this quality here, it talks about the Buddha's discourses. It shows that the Buddha's discourses clarify the topics to be discussed, which is essentially the way to liberate yourself from suffering. And it clarifies those topics without any kind of errors or mistakes. So it says swakhyat. Swakhyat is some sort of good explanation or perfect explanation. Swakhyat bhagavato dharma. So this dharma is perfectly explained by the Bhagavat or the Buddha. And it brings unerring vision, unmistaken vision. Sandrishtika. So the three baskets, they're not just lectures based on assumptions and hypotheses, made by the Buddha and his disciples, but they are actually based on the experiences, the insights that the Buddha had based on his direct perceptions of the true nature of phenomena. And hence, all his teachings, the Dharma path, gives you an unerring kind of insight, vision into the true nature of phenomena. So in that sense, it brings unerring vision. It is sandrishtika. Nirjvara. Jvara is an ailment, illness. So the Buddha Dharma is free of all kinds of illness or affliction, because it is actually the antidote to affliction. So it is free from any kind of sickness. It is the remedy that relinquishes sickness. So that's the reason it's called free from sickness, nirjvara. And it is akalika, or it is perpetual, and leads us onward. In what sense? Because once you, based on this path, once you relinquish the obscurations, afflictive obscurations, or even the cognitive obscurations, uh, they do not return. So you're forever on the path forward. After removing the afflictive emotions, after you remove the afflictive emotions only after you've reached the state of path of seeing. At that point, your progression is kind of irreversible. So the state of relinquishment of those afflictive emotions, it cannot be reversed. It is everlasting. So that is what is being referred to here. Akalika, it is perennial and leads us onwards, and it is trustworthy when applied. It is something that you can trust to, aid you in the removal of your afflictions and removal of your suffering, and hence your development on the path of liberation. So it is aupanayika, or it is trustworthy when applied. It says ahi pashika, seeing the dharma path or the dharma ratna, it fulfills our purpose, which is free ourselves from suffering. And then it says the wise can validate it through their own awareness. Now, it's something that has to be actualized in your own experience. Can't be kind of described in words. So it has to be kind of actualized in your own mental continuum. What we are talking about the Dharma Ratna, it essentially implies the true cessations and the true paths in the continuum of a Arya being. So these have to be actualized by the Arya being in his or her personal mental continuum. So Pratyatma Vedaniya Vidneya. So the wise can validate it through their own awareness. And it is replicable. I mean, it's not exclusive to some person who has a certain kind of lineage or a certain kind of, seed. Some traditions speak about the Buddha lineage being unique, different from the lineage that other sentient beings like the Shravakas or the Pratyek Buddhas have. But in terms of lineage, every sentient being has what is called the Tathagat Garbha. And everybody has the ability to access this transcendental wisdom through cultivating the right paths in one's mental continuum. But it has to be actualized in your own continuum. The Buddha can't transplant it into your mental continuum. The Dharma taught by the Buddha relies entirely on training the mind. So training or subduing the mind. So that is the kind of foundation for higher realizations. So the Dharma Ratna essentially is based on this foundation where you talk about subduing, disciplining the mind. So the Dharma gives us the methods to discipline our mental ourselves and rid our mental continuum of the afflictive emotions. So Swakhyato Bhagavato Dharma Vinaya. Dharma Vinaya is discipline. So Swakhyato Bhagavato Dharma Vinaya Supravedita. So the Dharma taught by the Buddha relies entirely on training, subduing, disciplining the mind, Vinaya. It is truly delivering in the sense that here what is being taught about is renunciation, the quality of renunciation. So if you understand the Dharma Ratna can actually help you cultivate spontaneous renunciation, and hence based on that you could then cultivate other paths in your mind stream, and that leads to definite release from the cycle of rebirth and suffering in samsara. Nairyanika. And then Sambodhigami, it causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. So the Dharma Ratna gives us the path, brings us closer to perfect enlightenment. Sambodhi is perfect enlightenment. Agami is to go towards. Yeah. It is without contradiction. It is all embracing. So abhinna is without contradiction. Sanstupa is all embracing, as in it's something that can be useful to all forms of sentient beings, with all kinds of different kinds of spiritual dispositions. So it is all embracing in that sense, and it is totally to be relied on because it brings you closer to enlightenment, to perfect enlightenment and liberation. In that sense, it is something that you can totally rely on. Saprati Sharana. And it is cutting off the root. So chinna, again cutting, chinna pelotika. So it cuts off the root because it leads to what is called true cessation. So the Dharma Ratna is true cessation and the true paths, the third and the fourth truths in the Four Noble Truths, the true cessations and the true paths. So the Dharma Ratna is enabling you to actualize those true cessations based on the true paths. So the true paths and the true Ratnas, the true cessations are what make up the Dharma Ratna. So this is the part of the sutra that describes the second Ratna, which is Dharma Ratna. Let's quickly look at the Sangha Ratna. So for the Bodhisattva Sangha, or the Mahayana Sangha, the Sangha of the Great Vehicle, those who have entered well. So the Great Vehicle Sangha consists of trainees who have entered the training, who have entered and abide in the training well. So the Sangha who practice the Dharma, they accomplish numerous kind of wholesome actions, virtuous actions. And because they abide in some sort of a discipline, you can say that they have entered well or they dwell appropriately. So the Sangha of the Great Vehicle dwells appropriately. Supratipanna Bhagavata Arya Sangha. So the Arya Sangha is Supratipanna, which is abides or dwells appropriately. So the Buddha's Arya Sangha dwells appropriately. It could also refer to a person who dwells on the path of liberation because of having cultivated certain kind of knowledge or wisdom in his mind stream. The Sangha actually, of course, refers to those who are practicing the higher training of moral conduct through the Vinaya. In that sense, also, you could say that they dwell appropriately. The Sangha is also, the Sangha Ratna is somebody who has approached or attained awareness, Nyaya Pratipanna. So because they are engaging in the practice of training in wisdom. So the three higher trainings are being referred to here. The first one was the training in moral conduct, ethical discipline. Second one is the higher training of wisdom. So because they possess the higher training of wisdom in their minds, the Sangha is said to be have attained awareness. Nyaya Pratipanna. Nyaya is awareness. Pratipanna is to abide properly. And who have approached uprightness. Rujupatipanna. So Sangha have entered into the higher training of concentration. And because of their ability to cultivate this practice of samadhis, shamatha samadhi, meditative concentrations, they're supposed to have approached uprightness or rujupatipanna. Then samichipatipanna, who have approached harmony. Here it talks about the Sangha kind of being in harmony with the rest of the members of the Sangha. But maybe, there's a different explanation of this term. Samichi probably refers to some sort of an equipoise. So they abide in some sort of equipoise based on the practice of meditative concentration. Or they abide in some sort of a harmony in respect of the instructions given by the Buddha. So in that sense, you could say that they abide in harmony, or they've approached harmony. Samichi Pratipanna. And they are worthy of veneration with palms joined together. Anjali Karniya. So Anjali is, putting your palms together. Karniya, so paying respects by folding your, folding your palms, bringing your palms together. So they're worthy of veneration. Why? Because they're practicing the three higher training, the higher training of Shila, or Vinaya, the higher training of wisdom, and the higher training of concentration. They are Samichikarniya, they are worthy of receiving prostrations. Again, because they are engaged in the practice of the three trainings, higher trainings. They are a glorious field of merit, Punyashri Kshetra, Punyashri Kshetra. So they are a glorious field of merit. Means that the Sangha of Mahayana, also even the Sangha of the Theravada vehicles, are endowed with these Kriya trainings, in particular the higher training of wisdom. And hence, because of this position of wisdom, they are said to be a field for accumulation of merit. So, you engaging any kind of meritorious action in relation to them would lead to a lot of accumulation of merit. Then it's the Dharma, the Sangha Ratna is also a jewel. If you make any offering to this jewel, it brings great purification. Because the Sangha members are endowed with the higher training of ethical discipline. Yeah, and also the other two higher trainings. So it says Maha Dakshina Parishodhaka. So Dakshina is an offering. Parishodhaka is, Shodhana is purification. So if you make offerings to the Arya Sangha, then it brings purification. It brings great purification. And they are an object of generosity, worthy to be received as a guest. Prahavaniya, Prahavaniya. So Prahavaniya, Prahavana, Prahav is a guest. So they're appropriate to be received as guests. Like in India, you have this tradition to receive your guests and treat them with a lot of respect and give them all kinds of offerings. Yeah. So the Arya Sangha is worthy of that kind of veneration. So Sangha are endowed with the higher training of moral discipline, and hence they are the proper beneficiary of receiving offerings. Then Ahaviniya. So they are in every respect, every way, the greatest object of generosity. Whatever the time, whatever the place, they're worthy of being venerated and being offered beautiful things, beautiful offerings. So any offering made to them as also becomes a cause for great purification, great benefit to the donor in terms of accumulation of merit. Because the Sangha is engaged in the practice of the higher trainings, wisdom, ethical discipline, and concentration. So these are the qualities of the Arya Sangha. So that kind of concludes the third part of the sutra, remembering the three ratnas or the three jewels. And with that, we conclude the discussion on the sutra, remembering the three jewels. So let's just quickly go through the second part of our discussion. Oh, see. I'm sharing a different document now. Okay, can you see this document? Is this visible on your screens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay. Okay, so we may not be able to cover the whole thing today. Let's see how far we proceed with this. Setting up a daily practice, an essential component of your daily practice would be to cultivate a proper refuge in relation to the three ratnas. So that's the reason I thought this would be a good starting point to discuss. So what we'll discuss is a specific sadhana or a method to set up the practice of remembering the three jewels and cultivating a refuge in relation to the three jewels. So the sadhana of remembering the three ratnas. Okay. So it has three parts. The first part deals with the preliminaries. The second is the actual practice. And the third one is describes the how to conclude the practice. Yeah. So the preliminaries, there are different parts in this sadhana. So the first part is to set up a proper motivation. And how do you do that? It's by recollecting the optimum human rebirth, the different kinds of freedoms and endowments that characterize our present existence, and then take it forward and develop a comprehension of the suffering that one could experience in a non-human rebirth, whether it's in the lower realms or even in the higher realms or even in the realm of humans. And based on that, cultivate a proper comprehension of the essential suffering nature of samsara. And based on that, cultivate renunciation towards samsara. And then, based on that, you take it further, you build it further, cultivate it further, and use that as a foundation to cultivate the ultimate motivation of working for the welfare of other sentient beings, the ultimate purpose of life. So this is the first part, setting up a proper motivation. Then, after having set up a proper motivation, in the first part, in the preliminary part, what you're doing is essentially inviting the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, the Shravakarahans and the Pratibuddharahans into the place where you're conducting your practice. So you will engage in some sort of an invocation, invitation to these holy beings. You make offerings to them, you make prostrations to them. Before that, you need to kind of purify the place. So the preliminaries also covers this part about how to purify the place where you're going to do the actual practice. And before that, before purifying the place, you can kind of precede that practice with taking refuge. So what are these individual elements implying? Let's just look at that. So the first one, which is to set up a proper motivation, as I said, it talks about essentially reflecting and reminding yourself of the optimum human rebirth, the preciousness of human rebirth. And you've seen this extensively in all the discussions that we've had in the last few months. So it requires us to be mindful of the freedoms and endowments of human rebirth. And to remind ourselves of all the freedoms and endowments, one could just use this verse from the Bodhicharya Avatar by Shantideva. He says that if the arising of a Tathagat, faith, the attainment of a human body, and my being fit to cultivate virtue are scarce, when will they be one again? So it's talking about some scarce qualities, very rare qualities that we are endowed with right now. So what are the qualities? What are the qualities? We are kind of, we have this human body, of course, with, most importantly, a perfect intelligence, which we can use to discriminate between phenomena, useful and non-useful, the flaws of samsara and the benefits of liberation. We are in a place where the Tathagat has visited, is taught the doctrine, and we have access to the doctrine, and we also have faith in the doctrine, and we have the ability to engage in virtuous actions. So we have all these qualities, and the Buddha had said that it's very rare to get this opportunity to have this human form and then to be presented with all these other endowments. So it's very important that we reflect on this and internalize this fact that it is quite rare. First of all, we need to remind ourselves of all the freedoms and endowments that we have. So what are the freedoms and endowments that are being referred to here? The arising of a Tathagat and our access to his doctrine, arising of faith in our mental continuum, the attainment of a human body and with it the discriminative intelligence that we have, and our ability to engage in virtuous actions to cultivate virtue. We have all these freedoms and endowments, and these are quite rare. We don't know when we can win them again. If we're not careful, it could mean that we may not win these freedoms and endowments for a long time. So kada tathagat utpadam shraddham manushyam evacha kushala abhyasa yogatva evam lapse ati durlabham. So ati durlabh is to be extremely rare. What is extremely rare? Lapsya is to obtain access to the Tathagat's doctrine because he's arisen in our midst. We have Shraddha, faith in our mind stream. We are reborn as humans, not as animals. Kushala Abhyas, we have the ability to train in virtuous action. Kushala Abhyas. Abhyas is training, Kushal is virtuous actions. So we have all these qualities, and we need to remind ourselves constantly that we are in the possession of these qualities, which are very rare, and hence we need to be careful. And then we have these qualities right now, but with death, we would be separated from these qualities, these freedoms and endowments. And where we'll be reborn is uncertain. If it is guaranteed that we'll be reborn as humans and we'll have access to all these qualities, then there's nothing to be worried about. But it's extremely uncertain. So where we'll be reborn, because we are powerless against the influence, the forces of karma, and the law of karma has a very specific kind of way of uh, operationalizing or actualizing past seeds. How does that happen? So in samsara, ripening through karma, from the ripening first to last, whatever is heaviest, the nearest, the most familiar, and that the earliest. So we've created a lot of, planted a lot of karmic seeds in our mind streams. And what gets activated at the time of our death is uncertain. Is we haven't trained ourselves to the extent that we can control that process. And because that is uncertain, where we are going to be reborn in the future is uncertain. So yata guru yachasanam yachabhyastam krutamacha yat purvam vipachyate karma samsare. So samsara, ripening through karma, from the ripening first to last, whatever is heaviest, the nearest, the most familiar, and then done earliest. And of course, human rebirth is exceptionally rare. Right now, we have access to the freedoms and endowments because of human rebirth. At the time of death, because of this uncertainty, where we are going to be reborn is uncertain. There are 5 realms in which we could be reborn, but the likelihood, the probability of being reborn as a human, extremely rare. Because the Buddha said, Ata eva bhagwan manushyam ati durlabham maha arnava yuga chidra kurma grivar panopanam. So for these very reasons, the Buddha said that hard as it is for a turtle to insert its neck into a yoke adrift upon the vast ocean being the samsara, where we are adrift because of being powerless in the light of the karma and afflictions that are part of our mental continuum. It is extremely hard to attain the human state. So we've all kind of seen the meaning of all these verses. I'm just kind of collating, integrating all these discussions. So what you need to do is you go back and maybe just to conduct your practice, you just list down all these verses, and then sequentially kind of reflect on the import and the meaning, the essence of all these verses. Okay, so for renunciation, okay, so this is a old version. So for renunciation, what we need to do is remind ourselves that we are powerless in the light of the forces of karma and afflictions. So we are kind of being thrown either and either by the waves of karma and afflictions on the ocean of samsaric suffering. And we have absolutely no power in terms of controlling that process. And, it will lead us to rebirth in the lower realms, which are characterized by suffering. But even if it leads to rebirth in the human realm or in the realm of the gods, even that is characterized by suffering. So wherever you reborn in samsara, samsara is entirely characterized by suffering. And when we have that realization, we've understood that that is the nature of samsara, then we generate this spontaneous desire or wish to be freed from that suffering. And that's when we have we're said to have cultivated renunciation in our mind stream. I need to redo this slide, later. So based on renunciation, then you have a spontaneous desire to be free from suffering, to be rid of samsaric suffering, to liberate oneself from suffering in samsara. But that's not the ultimate purpose. What we need to do is work for the liberation of all sentient beings in the universe, because just like we want to be freed from suffering in this samsara, other sentient beings also desire the same. So we need to kind of work for their liberation also. So that defines the ultimate purpose of our lives. So we can reflect on that by reciting these verses. Pleasing living beings delights the Tathagats and perfectly accomplishes my own purpose as well. In addition, it dispels the pain and misery of the universe. Therefore, I should always practice it. So, pleasing living beings, working for the welfare of living beings, is what delights the Tathagats. And it not only accomplishes others' welfare, it also accomplishes my own purpose. And it dispels the pain and misery of everybody who is there in samsara, in this universe. Therefore, I should always practice it. So, these are all verses from the Bodhicharya Avatar. I have also given the reference for those verses. So thus, by the virtue collected, through all that I have done, may the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. So, evam sarvam idam krutva yanmayasa aditam shubham tena syam sarvasatva nama sarva dukha prashanti glana nama asmi bhaishajyam bhaveyam vedya evamacha tad upasthayaka chaiva yavad roga apurna bhava. So it's asking, these verses are exhorting us to cultivate a practice where we are concerned about the welfare of other sentient beings, and we engage in virtuous actions and dedicate all that merit towards the release of pain of every living creature. And for that, for us to be able to do that, we should see ourselves as the doctor, we should see ourselves as the medicine, we should see ourselves as the nurse that can help the other sentient beings who are sick from karma and afflictions in this world. We should see ourselves as a doctor and medicine and nurse which can assist them in their efforts to free themselves of the sickness of karma and afflictions until everyone is healed. So after that, so setting motivation, we had seen you reflect on the optimum human rebirth, reflect on renunciation and the ultimate purpose of our lives. And then you follow that up with taking refuge. So the refuge, so this is in the preliminary part. You will actually do an extensive refuge in the actual practice also, but in the preliminary part also you need to do a short refuge. So after having reflected on or done the motivation setting, you take refuge. You say, I seek refuge in all the Buddhas until I possess the essence of awakening. Likewise, I seek refuge in Dharma and in the assembly of Bodhisattvas. So Buddham gacchami sharanam yavada bodhi mandataha. Bodhi mandat is the essence of awakening. So until I possess the essence of awakening, Buddham gacchami sharanam. So I go for refuge to the Buddha. And similarly, Dharmam gacchami sharanam tatha. Bodhisattva ganam sharanam tatha. So Dharmam gacchami sharanam, Bodhisattva ganam gacchami sharanam tatha. So likewise, I seek refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of Bodhisattvas. And just as the previous Sugatas gave birth to an awakening mind, and just as they successively dwelt in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the sake of all that lives, do I give birth to an awakening mind, and likewise shall I too successively follow the practices. So yatha grihitam sugatera bodhicittam purataneya te bodhisattva shikshayayam anupurvya yathasthita tadvad utpadayamesha bodhicittam jagadite tadvadevacha Ta shiksha shikshishyami yathakramam. So this is how you take refuge. You can use the verse from Bodhicharya Avatar, the second chapter, 26th verse. And to go for refuge in a manner similar to all the past Buddhas, you use the verse number 22 and 23 from Bodhicharya Avatar. Purifying the place, and may the land everywhere be pure, smooth and devoid of any rocks, level like the palm of the hand, and of the nature of lapis lazuli. So, Sharkara Adi Vyapeta Chasama Pani Pani Talopama Mridvi Cha Vaidurya Mai Bhumi Sarvatra Tishtatu. So, Sharkara is a rock. So, Vyapata, so let land be free of rocks and such other stones, other impediments. Sharkara Adi Vyapita Cha Samaha. Sama is be like Pani Talopama, which is the palm, right? The palm of the hand. So let it be smooth or level. Let this entire place be smooth, like the palm of the hand. Or Mridvi is to be soft. Mridvi cha Vaidurya Mai Bhumi. So this entire place be filled with precious ornaments, and yet let it be smooth. Sarvatra tishtatu. So this is how you purify the place. So we'll pause and we'll stop in another 2-3 minutes. We'll just cover this preliminary part. And then you invite the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Shravaka, Arhans, Pratyek Buddha, Arhans, all the protectors, the Dakas and the Dakinis into the space that you are doing this practice, this sadhana. Savior of all sentient beings without exception, divine destroyer of the unbearable hordes of Maras and their forces, perfect knower of all things without exception, Bhagavan, together with your retinue, please come here. So, and the verse essentially mostly talks about the Bhagavan's qualities, but invites the Bhagavan along with his retinue. Please come here. So this is the invitation part. And then you make extensive offerings. So you make mental or tangible physical offerings to the holy beings that you've invited into your meditation place. So you offer a prayer. May divine and human offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, become clouds of the finest Samantabhadra offerings, filling the entire space, realm of space. And then you multiply. You can multiply these offerings, bless these offerings, and multiply to make them numberless, and then ensure that these are offered to the holy beings that you've invited into your meditation space. So for that, you need to chant this mantra. It says, Om Namo Bhagavate Vajra Sarva Pramardane Tathagata Arte Samasa Buddhaya Tadta Om Vajra Vajra Mahavajra Mahateja Vajra Mahavidya Vajra Mahabodhi Chitta Vajra Mahabodhi Mandupama Sankramana Vajra Sarva Karma Avarana Vishodhane Vajra Swaha. So you recite this mantra 3 times to multiply your offerings, to make them numberless, to bless them, and to extend them to the holy beings you've invited into your meditation space. And then you make prostrations. So you make prostrations with mantra and also by reciting the teacher's epithets. All those epithets that we just discussed. You can see some of the epithets that we discussed here. So to the Guru, Shasta, Bhagwan, Tathagat, Arhant, Samyak Sambuddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. Please grant me your blessings. So you recite this verse thrice as you make either physical prostration or maybe a mental prostration also. And you can recite this mantra which says Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye, Namo Uttam Shriye Swaha. Again thrice. So you can stand up and prostrate thrice while reciting this mantra. And it has benefits in the sense that it multiplies his prostration 1,000 times. And it becomes the cause for you to actualize the wisdom of emptiness in this lifetime itself. It also prevents harm coming in your direction from non-human beings and also human beings. And the physical action of prostrating actually, what it does, it purifies the negative karmas of the body. The praise that you recited through these mantras and the verse, the verbal action of reciting the mantra, that purifies the negative karma of the speech. And then mentally kind of recollecting the qualities of the three Ratnas. Here you're reflecting on the qualities of the Buddha Ratna. You give rise to faith in your mental continuum, and it becomes the cause for you to purify the negative karmas of the mind. So this is the next the step of prostrations. Okay, so that kind of covers the preliminaries part of the daily practice. And once you've done the preliminary part, then you initiate the actual practice, and the actual practice goes through these 3 steps. We'll not cover them today. We'll probably do it in my next session. So the actual practice would involve visualizing the refuge, then the refuge motivation and the refuge prayers, wherein we'll have to recite the prayers that we, including the sutra, remembering the three jewels. So those are things that we'll cover in the next session. Okay, we'll stop here. So we'll just do a short dedication and to end the session. So just close your eyes and reflect on the discussion that we've had today, and be sure that we accumulated some merit through our participation in this discussion, and then reflecting on whatever was discussed. So let's just take a moment to reflect on that. Let's direct that merit. So due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all sentient beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that does not arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Okay, Namo Buddhaya to everyone. So thank you for your time and patience. And if there are any questions, today we've run out of time. Maybe you can make a note of your doubts, your questions, any clarifications you want. And maybe we can discuss those doubts, clarifications in next session. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Venerable.
you.
Thank you for your teaching.
Have a good evening. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you also everyone for being here. And just a reminder that we continue these sessions in this series on Saturday evenings every week, and also on Sunday mornings we have the practical, what do we call it? Practical Buddhism for everyday life, which is ad hoc. It's not a continuous teaching. So anyone who wants to join, just hop on, hop off. That's possible on Sunday mornings. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for all the CKSL volunteers who have been working in the center today. Thank you so much, Venerable, again for joining us and giving us the teachings.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Alice.